story I said I was gonna do April today. Except I'm gonna do this story here. It's about Ruth, powerful lady, man. I just really started learning about her. Man, she's a powerful lady. I heard of the story before, but I'm really just reading the story all the way, much as I can. She's really have a lot of high credentials in her character and her personality. She's really a great lady. So what we're gonna start off with, I'm gonna say Ruth ends up in royalty because of her loyalty. Ruth end up in royalty in the royal lineage because of her loyalty to Naomi, and that brought her this way to Judah or Israel. You see, so that's what we're gonna let you glean on that for a minute. Then we're gonna go and kind of work back towards that way, and hopefully, where you can come out with some kind of understanding of who this lady was and how she was actually she came into she did not serve Naomi's God. She was a Moabite lady. She served on, they had different gods. So that's another thing you keep in mind. And so she did not serve uh, Ruth God. I mean, she did not serve Naomi's God. She served, her own God. She's a Moabite lady. Okay, we're gonna go over here. We're gonna get started now. And what we're gonna do first, we'll talk. We're just gonna read. I mean, it's pretty well good information. I may stop here and there and do some key points if you like, but I think it's pretty well. You just read it right down the line, hesitate a little bit, and I think it'll probably, make sense to you guys, or you know what I mean. So we'll try it like that, okay? So Ruth and Oprah. Well, let's start with there was. If you read in Judges over there, you got to read in Judges. I think yes, Judges. At the last part of it, yes, as Judges. Uh, Ruth is in between Judges and Samuel. She's in between the two. But Judges, it was Israel did not have a God. It was just going. Everybody was doing what they want to do. So that's why. And it was a famine in the land too. It was a great big famine in the land. And so that's why Elimelech, I think I said his name right, and Naomi left with their two sons because they was, they got away. They went over to Moabite. They stayed around about 10 years. It's 10 years, but altogether 10 years. But Naomi, husband died, and her two sons died, and then she had her two daughters left. So what she was gonna do after she told her daughters, she gonna go back home because they had left her previous home, Judah or Israel, because of the famine in the land. That's why they was over there in Moabite. See, so she said she going back home. Told her daughters she gonna go back home, and told them, you all right, appreciate it. I'm gonna keep you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. And she said that you girls go back and go with your mother. I'm gonna go back home and they was sort of like insisting, no, we gonna go home with you back to Judah, Naomi. This is the ladies, the daughter-in-law was talking to her. They sitting on a final goodbye. They crying and everything. Very touching, sad. They crying and everything. Kind of a touching situation. But anyway, Oprah decides to go back home, which is Moabite. And I know there's a lot of things on that around that Mount Sinai. There's a lot of little countries, Moabites, Hittites, Jordan was over there with the children of Israel from Moses' days. Was trying to, all that's in that area. It seemed like sometimes. I guess it's. But anyway, so she she told Ruth to go home. Ruth didn't want to go. She's like, no, I'm gonna stay with you. And here, I'm just gonna read this. So they said that this day wept again, that Oprah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. She grabbed her arm, I guess, she hold on to her. That's her mother-in-law now. This is Ruth. This is her mother-in-law, okay? Look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. You go back with her. But Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. That's a famous saying. Where you go, I will go. And where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, she told her. And your God will be my God. Because they serve different gods. She says, I will die I will die and be buried in your land. Basically, may the Lord deal with me, but it's ever so severely, if anything but death separate you and me. Man, she was really, Ruth and I really got attached to the mother-in-law. Wow, that's good, man. That's really good. And so Naomi, she didn't fight her. She told her, "Come on, let's go." So they started heading back, towards Bethlehem, Judah, if you will. And so what happened when they got into town, and we'll get back to some more good stuff. I'm just going to kind of run on down through there, and we'll come back and hit some key points. So they got on through town, got to Bethlehem and Jerusalem, right in there. I said Bethlehem. And some people was looking at him kind of stirred. I guess they was excited to see him because, see, they had left, man. They had left. A lot of people had left Israel, their home, because it was one thing was a famine in the land. So that's why, I don't know if all of them left, but I know Naaman and the other, like, Elimelech, they left. And with his boy, you just said that earlier. But so they coming back. Naomi's on her way back because her husband is dead. Of course, I did say that. And he passed, and the two boys, they passed too for some reason over the Moabites. And they died in that territory, the Moabites area over there. I don't know if they already got their bodies back or not. Maybe it's, they don't say anything about that. Cause I think some people like to be buried in their homeland, but I don't know about that. But anyway, they came in town and they was looking at her. They was glad to see her, and they called her name. Let's see what it say. They said 2 women went up on all came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the woman explained, "Can this be Naomi?" Naomi said, "Don't call me Naomi." She told them, "Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter." See, she's a bitter one. She said bitter. "I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me." So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth, the Moabites, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. Oh, they getting food now, barley. So she done lost her husband, I guess, and she done lost both her sons. If you want to throw her daughter-in-law in there, she done lost her daughter-in-law, things this and that. She lost her daughter-in-law, and that things to that next. So she lost a lot of things, so she's kind of bitter. I guess people would be bitter if the shoe was on their feet. That's how you sort of get into stories I do. You sort of like to, if you consider the people, even when you're reading, you can be considerate of people and try to see how they feeling inside the story, because they give you enough, clues to sort of set your mood and how the story is going to go, even though you can't hear their tones, but you can see the words and how things are going. Is that pretty clear? So, she did that, so because she thought she was just, she had some bad luck. That's what happened. So she was bitter. So Naomi, she had got settled in. Let's just go on down there. I'm sorry, Ruth had got settled in. We're gonna go down to where Ruth meet Boaz, and so Boaz is a key factor in this situation too. So Ruth had been out in the fields, and somehow her and Naomi was back at home. Ruth said she wanted to go back and get the leftover grains and stuff, help harvest that. And that's where she meet Boaz. Boaz, her husband. I mean, Boaz, Boaz. And so when she met him, this is later, Ruth and Naomi shared, no, not that one. Let me get to it. She met Boaz. Let me see here. Mara. Well, let me pick up. She met Boaz. What she did when she met Boaz. Now, what Boaz was doing, he's sort of like a kinsman to her, a spokesman, or like a redeemer. Yeah, from what I can remember, because I can't find my notes. I'll get here in a minute. Like a redeemer to her. And so what he had did, the first thing he did when they was in the field, they was talking. He asked her name and stuff. He asked somebody her name, and God told her. Like he asked, have showing interest in her. You know how people, hey, how you doing there? How you doing? Showing interest in her, and everything of this nature. Boaz was, I think he was talking to the harvest guy. They was harvesting in the field and stuff. So he inquired about it. He told her, she was with Ruth. So he asked her not to go to any other fields to glean, just to kind of hang out with him. And that's what she did. So they ate pretty good. She ate to a field and just things of this nature. You know how people do. You having a conversation, they talking and stuff. So he got to talking to her about some things, and it seemed like the conversation went, and we can get it. I mean, colloquial language, but we can get back in scripture later on. But it seemed like the conversation where it went was, from how the Bible saying some of these key points. What he did was he brought her husband who passed, which was Naomi's son. He had some land, so he was going to purchase that land for Ruth to sort of help her in her lineage. That's what the Bible was saying. He was going to purchase that land. This land was important, but that land was already owned by a cousin. So that cousin owned that land, and he didn't want to sell that land. So what happened was Boaz, I think I'm finding where I'm at. Boaz uh, still claimed responsibility to the land somehow. And he left that land. That land sort of like marked, uh, solidified her as a Israelite, if you will, because she was outside of the religion. She's a Moabite. She came into the religion. So that was amazing in itself. No, she's accepted into the Israelite religions, and over she accepted their God, and they accepted her. And they say it in the story. Sometimes the Israelites and the Moabites, sort of like the first and Sagittarius, they didn't like each other. They did not like each other at all. But so this shows you the strength and courage and the dedication and the loyalty, what it can do for you. It can put you in royalty when you have a good character. So let's say that's what I was impressed with her about. She had a good character, quiet. She worked hard. Didn't seem like she caused a lot of problems. Really dedicated to her mother. She was loving, she was kind, and very quiet. So she had some great characters about herself. And that's what made her, as I said earlier, that's what ended her up into royalty right there. So she did end up marrying Boaz. And she married Boaz, and that's how she's into the royalty family, because they had a son named Obed, O-B-E-D, and I think that's Jesse's granddaddy. I think that would be Jesse's granddaddy, which is granddaddy. I think no, it would be her son. Jesse's her son, and I think David is Jesse's son. So that's King David. See, that's how she ends. So she's in royalty. She ended up in the lineage of Jesus royalty, with her Candace. I thought that was really good. She ended up in the royalty of Jesus. You see what I'm saying? She, because of her character. These are people who do not accept the Moabites. That just show you how God can work too, you know what I'm saying? Because, God said these Israel is his people, and you have to be Israel to be part of God. But see, something changing. But is it a hard thing, my thing? Because even though she was not an Israel, but she still got to serve Israel God. She said she got what she wants. She would be a God. I mean, she said, your God will be my God. That's what she had told Naomi. She had mentioned to Naomi, your God will be my, and that's what happened. I don't know if she was speaking of faith. Now, I was thinking, I got some questions here. What I was thinking was, because Naomi and the two daughters, they was on the road in the beginning of the story. I don't know if I read that, saying goodbyes and stuff. And, of course, Oprah, she ended up going back, and that was cool. She wanted to go back to the Moabite, because they was on the road going towards Jerusalem as they were saying goodbye. But I just wondered, after 10 years, do you think Naomi might have been talking about her God to, it's 10 years. I'm sure they're having a conversation. Don't you have conversations? When you think that they would be talking about, Naomi would be talking about her God to the girls? Now, she seemed better when she got home. They did use God lenses. Maybe she told them God. I don't know. This seemed like, why did Ruth want to stick with her so close? Did Naomi? This is just in colloquial. I can just thinking. Did she plant some seeds there? Naomi, did she talk to Ruth and Oprah on certain occasions from time to time? That's her daughter-in-law. What that kind of conversation they're having. You know what I'm saying? But to where Ruth want to go back, where did Ruth get the urge and the desire to follow her mother-in-law back towards Judah, Jerusalem? That's what I would be thinking. That's how I think, because it seems like the story leads you to think that way. So Ruth made a vow, formally committed. Ruth, the vow Ruth made a formal commitment, famously saying, "Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God." That's what she said. You see, and this was the renunciation of her faith. She had just renounced her faith from her God, wherever their God was in the Moabite families. She had she had denounced them because she said she's going to serve Naomi's God. You see what I'm saying? I don't know how important that was, but in other words, she swapped gods. She left that. That would have probably been a God. Moabites, there's only one God. They probably had a God, but she picked the right God. You know what I'm saying? Ruth did. She picked the right God, baby. This God can move and breathe and do some things. These other gods are like woods and sticks, and I don't know if it's people's characters and personalities in them sticks, and they serve their own self and their own thoughts and their own intellectuals. Because I don't see how sticks and woods can do anything, but people serve those type of things. There, some people just had a hard time serving a real live God. Even the children of Israel they was always disobedient, and when they got disobedient, most of the time famines would come in the land, and then most of the time God would give favor to the enemy. Because God, he was, he's really disciplined. But it got a little softer for me. I did a video on the softer side of Jesus, because Jesus came and lived with us on earth, and he had compassion. Not saying that Papa just don't like sin. I did this video once. He can't stand it. But see, Jesus is like the compassionate side. That's why he's the one that's able to run interference for us through Papa. Just don't tell him what Papa will do. Papa can't stand sin. But Jesus covered our sin when he died. So that's for somebody who's trying to think about coming into the building, coming into knowing the Papa, knowing the big brother. This is what you can do. Think about some of these things. He's a good God. He loves you. He's trying to make way clear for you and all this kind of stuff. He's trying to give you a better life, man. He's trying to give you a better life. There's a lot of stuff going on. But we're going to stick back here with what the Kingsmen redeemed, and we'll stay with that. Kingsmen redeemed. Under Israelite law, a relative named Boaz acted as her goal, a redeemer, by marrying her into the community and prescribed her family and preserved her family inheritance. That's where he bought her ex-husband, I suppose. Well, he didn't want the other guy, the family. He didn't want to sell it, but somehow he reclaimed it some kind of way, because they made it the gate up there, where the fortress gate, from what the Bible say. And the sad thing about that, Ruth was thinking or imagining her situation for herself, even though understanding all of God's law, her connection was Naomi through some understanding. She didn't understand all of God's law. That's what I just said, if you didn't understand. Ruth did not understand what this God would be offering, no more than what she, this is me imagining, no more than what she probably could heard from, just from way off. Because a lot of people used to observe God's people, and they probably could have, observed God. A lot of people used to watch God's people. They would watch because God had that attention on them. So, but, Ruth, I don't know if she knew Naomi's God or not. No more than this, how she knew who naming God was. It's just about knowing Naomi. See, just by knowing her, and that was just enough to really to go know Naomi's God. She said, well, you got enough for me to where I want to meet your God. Because she said, where you go, I will go. I don't know how people are saying that unless it's somehow, even through Naomi's dire situation, she was still able to, for me, she was still able to plant some seeds. Whether God was orchestrating that whole thing or not, Naomi probably was still in there working, and God was working through her to get Ruth that way, even though Naomi was bitter. See, God don't let nothing get in his way if he's trying to move things, move people, shift things, these things of nature. He's trying to do all that, so he don't let people or no one get in his way when that's going to happen. And Ruth ended up in, like I said, in royalty. And I don't know if that was supposed to be destiny for her or whatever. Evidently it was, because that's where she ended up at, in royalty. You see what I'm saying? So that's the story to me about Ruth. She's a quiet lady. She was she kind of remind me of the Virtues. They say she's hardworking. You can see she's very dedicated, very committed. Didn't want to leave her mother-in-law even after she could have, and when she wanted to. You see what I'm saying? She could have left all that if she went on back to her, just like the other lady did. You know what I'm saying? Because evidently they had food anyway. And I don't know if I think Naomi may have heard that they land is starting to reharvest the Israel people. They started to, because they was in chaos, man. If you read the last part of Judges, that's why people is moving out. Because Judges is gonna lead you into root. That's what was going on, right there. That's why they left, because of the famine in the land. And usually, if it's famine in the land, I ain't saying they was disobedient, but somebody was disobedient to brought all that down on them because they didn't have no food. But you can see when they was coming back, everything must have got together, because you see that Ruth is out in the field and she's harvesting some grain. So evidently there's food there now. That's why she was returning back home. You understand? So I don't know, guys. That's it. I feel like I gave you some good information, not as quite as clarity. I feel I didn't, maybe it's me, but I feel like you got enough to understand. Her character, who she is, who she was, and how dedicated she was to her mother-in-law. In turn, she became dedicated to her God in the process of that. You understand? So that's how I get out of it. That's what I get out of it. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else I got in out. Let me check and see right quick. I think it's about everything. Okay, everything's one, rolling. Yeah, people vow to see this, that. Naomi had heard the Lord was providing food. Okay, we talked about that. So, yeah, Naomi did hear that the Lord was providing food. Yeah, she did hear that, so I did say that. That's why she was getting ready to go back home. But she had been in, she had been over there 10 years in Moab. I guess you call it Moabites or the Moabite territory land. She had been over there for 10 years. Calling her husband and all that, but their husband and children that passed. So they said that, and name is her daughter. Okay, I gave you all that. They ran back. I gave you all that. Okay, back to Zia with Naomi. Okay, we gave you that. She told them go back home. That's when they was on the road going to. Naomi was ready to turn. I gave you that. Ready to turn home. They was on the road heading towards Judah. She telling them to go back home. They hadn't left. They were just standing there, talking, trying to say goodbye. So that's about it, guys. Hopefully you got something out of this story. It wasn't a long story. I'm not sure I can read. See if I can read you anything. I want to give you some scriptures. I was in colloquial language. You got a little time, I'll give you a little scriptures on it. Be sure we stay good. That way you have these Bibles. Give you some scriptures on it a little bit. I'll go down through it pretty fast, so that way you get it quick. I'm just going to go back over 3 key points on this 4th chapter. I'm not going to read the whole thing, though. I'm just going to sort of like go over the script, over the chapter, a couple of these verses here. That way you see that I said what's in these pages here. That I was able to say that. If you didn't catch that, then I'm going to read here with clarity so you can get the Bible's point of view there. So this got in the days of Naomi and Ruth, in the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land, and a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech. His wife's name was Naomi. And the names of the 2 sons were Mahaliah and Kilion. The word Erastus and Bethlehem, Judah, as they went to Moab and lived there. Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, and they were named Oprah and Ruth. So that's pretty good on that. We there right there, okay? So when they had heard the Lord had come into the aid of people providing food for them, Naomi and her daughters were prepared to turn back home. So I kind of skipped a little bit, but you see down they had heard that the food is back in Israel, so down they ready to go back to the house. You know what I'm saying? So she left the place where they had been living and set out on a road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her two daughters, "Oh, go back, you, each of you, to your mother's house. May the Lord show kindness on you as you have shown to your dead and to me, her sons, and you show kindness to me too. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in on the home of another husband." She said, "Y'all go and get married again. Get married." And then she kissed them, and they were allowed and said to her, "We will go back with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? And I'm not going to have, am I going to have any more sons? Who could become your husband? Return home, my daughters. I am too old." That sounds like Abraham and Sarah, don't it? "I'm too old to have any other husbands for you. If I thought there was still hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight, and then he gave me birth to sons, would you wait until they grow up?" Sound like Nicodemus. She said, "How can you enter into your mother's womb?" They just thought a little different. I guess she's making sense there. She's having a conversation like she's thinking. What you want me to do? Have a baby and they gonna grow up? You gonna marry them again? You'd be too old. It's basically what she was saying. "No, my daughter, it is better for me than for you. It's better for me. I lost my husband and my children. It's better for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has gone out against me." That's how Naomi felt. And they wept again. They cried again, man. Mm-mm-mm. Then Oprah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. She said, "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her God. Go back with her." But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." So he went over that. And when you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, but it's ever so severely, if anything but death separate you and me. So you just hear what Ruth said. She said, "May the Lord deal." She has a lot of love for Ruth. She said, "May the Lord deal with her. I'm not going to leave you. The Lord's going to deal with me. The Lord will deal with me." That's what Ruth said. Oh, man. She wanted to go with Naomi. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. So she says, "Oh, come on, let's go." So the two women went on into Bethlehem, and then we told you about as they came in, and the women was looking at them, and they was glad to see her. But Naomi was bitter. "Don't call me Naomi," she said to them. "Call me Mara." As the women stood stared at her, "because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full with my family and a husband, and I come back empty. My husband is gone, and my two sons are dead. Now I have she said empty about this. She had a daughter-in-law, but she just think, she had a daughter-in-law. Ruth came back with her. So the Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has gone misfortune upon me. He has brought misfortune upon me." So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth, the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem, and the barley harvest was beginning. The harvest was beginning by the time they got there. You see, because they had left because with no food. We went through that. Okay. Now, this is about it, guys. I gave you all I gave you now, because we're going to talk about Ruth meet Boaz, and we went over that, Boaz saw her in the field. He asked the taxman, the guy that's working for him, who she is, and he's told her who she was. And so he got, acquainted with her, and he told her, "Don't go glean no other fields, just stay here with me, And then he ended up marrying her. So it's a kingship thing, or a redeemer, because now she's married into the Israelite family. She got an Israelite husband, sort of like, so it's sort of like nullified the deal. She's there now. She's there, and she got there on her own, but he just sealed the deal. He bought land from her for her. Lineage, brought the land back. Well, yeah, that boy didn't want to sell that land because her husband had some land, but he didn't want to sell it as a relative. But somehow they say he was responsible for the land, Boaz. So I guess he got it because they met at the gate. The guy that owned the land. Yeah, that's what he wanted to get buy the land to give to Ruth, you know. So they ended up getting married, and they had a son. And let me see, make sure that boy name was. He had a son named Obey. Yeah, the son name was Obey. And then Obey had a son, and his son name was Jesse. So that's King David daddy. That's King David daddy. So that's about the end of it, guys. It tells an amazing lady, a lot of great characters about herself, a lot of great personal, this. And she was not a child. Well, she was not. She didn't serve their gods. So she got a lot of great characters. Evidently, I'm gonna have to assume from Naomi, or she already had them with her inside herself. Can you have characters inside yourself and not know God? Because see how God used a lot of these people that don't really know Him. And you think about Nebuchadnezzar, was Cornelius one of them? A lot of we would call them people outside of God, but God used these people. God could use anybody sometimes. And sometimes God saved these people, even though they're not in what we call Israel's religion. You see what I'm saying? This is what you're seeing right here and right now. Something to think about, guys. Something to think about. Is it really about religious, or is it really about God seeing the goodness of your heart, like He saw Ruth in her situation? Kind, loyalty, uh, hardworking, committed, dedicated, very persuasive, or very, she's this relentless in what she's gonna do. She could not be denied as far as when Naaman told her to go back home. No, I'm going with you. A lot of good characters about that lady, so I'm sure God appreciated that. And then she ended up in royalty, like I said. So she's about to not for sure she's yeah, she's King David's. That would be his great great grandmother, I believe. But just check it out, guys. The story's in there in Ruth. They say there's only 4 chapters to it. And just check it out and see what you think. But she's in that royalty lineage. Let's leave you a little cliffhanger there. You go check it out, read Ruth, and see what you come up with. I'm saying she is Obey is the father of the grandfather of David, I believe. Jesse, and then Jesse is the father of David. I know that part is right. It's just the Obey, and that's what I'm gonna be transparent. I've seen it, but I can't get my notes together, so you guys can help me out. So Obey is the Obed. He was the either that was Boaz's son and Naomi's son, so that would be that's been a long time probably. That might have been his grand. That might have been his granddaddy. That might have been David's granddaddy, Obeyed. I mean Jesse's granddaddy. That might have been his daddy. But we do know that Jesse was King David's daddy, and that is the lineage that Miss Ruth ended up in. Royalty, baby. Royalty. All the way. Working in fields, lost her husband, left her home country, and ended up in Israel, where the real God lives. You feel what I'm saying? And resides. And then he gave her such a wonderful title, and apparently a wonderful husband, because he purchased land for her and did this. He just be sure she was good. Man, once God put it on you, He just put it all over you, won't He? He'll bless you going in. He'll bless you coming out. Once you be obedient to Him and be pure, tell Him the truth about what's going on with ourselves, and we can get some of these things that you just saw that Ruth got, and so many other of our brothers and sisters that's in the Bible, and our brothers and sisters that's living today that's outside the Bible, but we are in the Bible because we are the living epistles today, baby, is what He says. There ain't much difference. We are the living epistles today, okay? That's what He says. We are the living epistles. We got Bible stories too. And hopefully some of us can have a wonderful Bible story, just like Miss Ruth did. You understand? This is a beautiful story. It's committed, faithful, dedicated, and God seen all that. So, guys, you have a great, great, great day. Appreciate you listening to me. Go read that story now, Ruth. You want to see get that granddaddy and that daddy lined up. Ruth and Boaz's son. So get that line up. Hey, text me, give me a comment and say which one is which. Let me know. I said granddad, I said daddy, obey, Jesse, obey, Jesse. Yeah, so yeah, give me straight, guys, give me straight. Bye for now. Have a good day. God bless you. And most God loves you, and I love you too. But God loves 8 billion people, and that's the message, people. That's the main message. You're a spiritual warrior, and we are from heaven. You understand? That's gonna always be there. That's what the Bible says. That's what it is. And it ain't no long, long, long time ago. It is a long, long time ago, but it's just as fresh in God's eyes as it is now. He know what happened. And he want to strengthen us, and we got to realize who we are inside ourselves. We're spiritual warriors. But everybody, I know that's another thing I thought about. It's just a side note here. Because some people are spiritual warriors, and some people just carry the flock in, like Moses did. Moses, them people been doing. Moses had all the weight on him, and he had to deal with a bunch of complainers, and this and that. We did a story on that. But that's why we know you're a spiritual warrior. Your spiritual warrior used to face you first. If you got the guts to look at yourself, tell Papa what's going on, about yourself. You don't have to have the guts. It's whatever you want to do. You don't have to do it. It's up to you. But your life will reflect what you do. That's just how it goes. If not now, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. You know what I'm saying? That's how it goes. So whatever you pick, that's what, if you pick the good side, that'll be it. If you pick the other side, that'll be whatever it is. For you on the other side, that'll be whatever it is on this side. You see what I'm saying? That's just how it goes. And you know how that's going in life. We do it all the time. You want to be on a good team or a bad team, We do it all the time. Bye for now. God bless you. Take care. I don't have to do this.